horizontal, and it says my orientation is locked. So we're doing a vertical video today. Hope anyone is going to join here. And if not, that's okay. We'll upload this later. But I'm going into the First Kings of Europe exhibit. It's the first time that any of these items have been shown together in one show ever. It's at the Field Museum in Chicago, Illinois. And I'm getting ready to go in now. How are you? Good. Thank you so much. How long does it take to go through, do you know?
So they average it to about 30 minutes,
Okay.
But it could probably become either longer or less time, depending on how you find it.
And I already know there's certain things I can't video, so.
You're okay with camera, it's just no flashes.
No flash. Okay,
Yeah.
Great. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Have a good one. So I see one person has joined me, but I can't see chat. And this is my second YouTube live stream only. So hi, how are you? Nice to see you. So this is one of the last royal crowns commissioned in Europe by Marie Alexander Victoria, 1875 to 1938. She was crowned the Queen of Romania on October 15th, 1922 in the ancient city of Alba Giulia. Hi, Beth. This is the First Kings exhibit at the Field Museum in Chicago, Illinois. It's a brand new exhibit. We got early access to it. Sorry, this is vertical. I couldn't get my camera to go horizontal for some reason. So it says it's an exhibition of unprecedented collaboration, featuring artifacts from 26 museums from 11 countries in Southeastern Europe. And much of what you're going to see here has never been on display or never been displayed outside its country of origin. You mean you'll be in the O'Hare Airport or Chicago Airport, Beth? So these are a group of ceramic figurines. Some of them are seated. They're from the Neolithic age, 4900 to 4750 BC from Romania. How cool is that? Each of these figures represents a woman. Some are seated, perhaps a sign of a higher status in these times. It's possible that they're members of an extended family or they could represent different households. In either case, they depict a defined community with some members having prominent roles. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I was having trouble getting started here because I couldn't get my YouTube to go horizontal. So I just decided to wing it. And here we are. This is amazing. So their homes were like their temples. And these are small altars that you're looking at here. And they were used not only in community gathering spaces, but also in people's homes. Spiritual life focused on ancestors, rituals, and rituals were often performed among the families or household. Sometimes altars have features that refer to animals, and many have a bowl or platform for holding or burning ritual offerings. these cultures relied on their livestock, uh, and their crops. So since I'm a farmer, having grown up on a farm, you're looking at sheaves of wheat right there. And I'm not sure, I think this is barley, but I do know that this is wheat. And this is likely the skull of a cattle or a cow. And we had lots of cows growing up on our farm in Indiana. So, farming had spread from the Near East, where it first started a few thousand years earlier, to southeastern Europe. And the farmers raised cattle, sheep, pigs, goats for meat and milk. And they grew grains like wheat, yes, and it says barley, for a steady supply of bread. Although they were all farmers, a few of the households may have been more successful than the others, with excess of harvest to even trade away. And there you can probably see some of the teeth, bones. So at the time, it says this is one of the largest settlements in southeastern Europe. It's not saying exactly where it is. Oh, diorama. At its peak, over 1,000 people were part of this community surrounding the central tell, where longhouses and other structural spread across an area of about 225 acres. So this is a little exhibit showing maybe what one of their towns would have looked like. The little huts, and there's a better view of it. Some of these villages grew into towns. At first, there had simply been a cluster of homes, and then as people constructed new buildings in the same place for generations, kind of a hill, it's called tell or formed. And at this settlement, the tell was surrounded by a moat that you can see here, formed by what they did is rerouted a river to form the moat. And as the village expanded, this oldest central part was used for communal ceremonies. Later on, selected community members were buried on top of the tell. And unfortunately, I can't zoom with YouTube, so it's best to show you from this angle. So their most precious things, though, came from afar. And at this time, most people relied on food and crafts they produced themselves or raw materials found locally. However, some people had the contacts and skills to trade their surplus for more exotic goods, like obsidian. With access to materials not available to everyone, these people and their families could start to distinguish themselves from others in wealth and prestige. So you're looking at some shells here, some raw obsidian, some church cores for making stone blades, and a conchas bandilas. I have no idea what that is. So this area that we're going into is photographs of real human remains and an illustration of a deceased person. So when the grave was unearthed, it looked like this. And this is how the deceased person would have been put in the grave. She would have a cloth covering her face made of natural clay pigment that had already been used in burial rituals for tens of thousands of years. So this kind of gives you an idea of what the jewelry she would have had on during that time. And this is a photograph of what that burial would have looked like. It says, why do we study burials, learn about communities? Because you don't bury yourself. Graves like the one on display here say as much about the living as they do the dead. How a person's body is arranged and the items that they were buried with tell us about their sex, their gender, or their ethnicity, as well as their role in the community, their profession, marital status, or rank. These clues help archaeologists infer how people related to one another in life. So this is inside a longhouse where members of the household cook, sleep, weave, and tend the family shrine. Anybody want to know what those are? Me too. So they came together to worship, and these are statues of a pregnant woman on the left and a figure with a bull's head on the right. They stood on a ceremonial altar at the center of a large settlement on the spring equinox each year, which we just went through here. Sunlight shone on the bull's head. Archaeologists may never know precisely how this altar was used, but they speculate that bulls were sacrificed here or that the altar was used by the community to leave offerings to a deity. And check out these little uh, kind of dots that go around these seemingly what might be trays. So for these people, ancestors were like their gods. So what you're seeing here is the people of the Neolithic recognized a supernatural world beyond themselves. And the beginnings of this spiritual world included deities, great people they had heard stories about, or even their own ancestors. And these beings are represented in ceramic figurines and face pots, like vessels with human faces, many of which were kept in household shrines, and people around the world still keep their ancestors close. It's as common as a photo of a grandparent on a wall that you might have in your house. I love that one in the back, number 6. And this number 7 one is really cool too. They're all cool. But some of them speak to me more than others, you know, probably as they would to you if you were here. So we're going to continue on here. How do you guys like this so far? I think it's amazing. So now we're looking at the first Gilded Age. The world was thrust forward when a few people learned how to extract metal from the earth. So from fire, rock, and steam, these few made copper axes, gold idols, and silver jewelry. These innovations led to the Copper Age, when metalworking carried mystery, magic, even for those who didn't understand how these glistening objects were crafted. And for those who controlled the supply of these metals, these precious objects brought a lot of power to them. So what these are metallurgy axes, some of the oldest known metal artifacts in Europe. When they were new and polished, they would have had a deep golden orange color, like the replicas here on the left. When people in Southern Europe began working with metal 7,000 years ago, copper was awe-inspiring and precious, and perhaps even sacred. You can see that one has a little hole in the top, so it was probably attached to something, some kind of a rod or stick. And they thought copper because it kind of shined like gold. So these are axes, reproductions based on ancient axe heads found in modern day Croatia. They show what copper would have looked like when it was heavily smelted and molded. Though archaeologists call it the Copper Age, ancient people in southeastern Europe also worked with gold, which they panned from their rivers. And they use molds like these to create the gleaming axes and the daggers. So this sign says, why did they bury valuable things? So to show off. This hoard of copper axes was found in 2013 by a Bulgarian farmer plowing his field. It's one of the largest such finds in Europe and contains 22 pieces, mostly axe heads. In 2013, uh, so they're called a hoard, and there's a stash of valuables that were deliberately buried in ancient times. Across southeastern Europe, archaeologists found hoards left behind by powerful people who displayed their wealth by publicly burying, effectively destroying, or ritually killing precious materials. Like copper, gold, and amber, archaeologists think they did this for ceremonial, political, or religious reasons. So their families came together to form large communities, and these farming villages continued to grow and change and connect with each other. And as the trade networks expanded, settlements within the region increasingly identified and acted as a group, falling in line behind emerging leaders as they competed for land and resources. This shift in representation, this shift in this shift is represented in artifacts left behind, like this house model, which is depicting 4 houses instead of 1, so that would have been like a community. These are some more of the things that they buried that reflected their prestige. We've got ceramic vessels, kind of like gold and copper appliques, copper bracelets, copper beads, some teeth necklaces, and some copper axe heads. So this is, again, showing an ancient village. There's a metal worker who's heating copper and pouring it into a mold. And the fire is casting mysterious glow across this really dark and mysterious workshop. So pendants like these were thought to evoke human forms. They were traded across southeastern Europe from the rocky western seaside to coastal marshes in the Cast and beyond. The distribution of these pieces over such a large area shows that although the ancient people of southeastern Europe were really very different, they also shared a lot of common ideas. So these pendants were found in modern day Romania, and Hungary and Serbia. Why did they start burying the dead in cemeteries? To perform. The gold displayed here came from one of the oldest known cemeteries in Europe, the Varna necropolis. As villages became more connected, they began to bury their dead in one dedicated place, a cemetery. Cemeteries are like a stage. When a family buries a loved one with gold and copper in a cemetery, they're showing off their wealth in view of their community. They also encountered people from different lands and distant lands. People began migrating into Europe about 6,000 years ago, and cultures and people in Southeastern Europe used yamnaya, status symbols like animal-shaped scepters and gold hair rings, like you see there in number 7, as their own. They also adopted yamnaya practice of burying their dead in earth mounds called kurgans. Many of these artifacts that you're seeing here were found in these kurgans. There's a stone animal-shaped scepter, number 1. Number 2 is another scepter. Number 3 is like a ceramic plate, a ceramic funnel. How cool is that? A stone axe with a gold cap. See the gold cap on there? Ceramic jug, and the hair ring. So the world began to grow quickly. And during the 2,000 years after people in the Balkan Peninsula first began smelting the copper, the world just grew at such a fast pace. Trade networks developed and expanded, not only linking Balkan communities to each other, but also to faraway places and peoples. Wagons, like the one depicted here, would have carried variable or valuable goods and people across the region's rugged landscapes. A major a major technological innovation in our own time also connected people more than ever before the internet. Were there LGBTQ people in the ancient Balkans? Well, yes, of course, but they wouldn't have said LGBTQ because that's a modern term. Um, in some ancient cemeteries, archaeologists observed patterns in how men and women were buried. For example, axes are usually found with skeletons identified by archaeologists as male, but recent interpretations of some of the graves, such as female skeletons found with axes, contradict those patterns. So these graves suggest that ancient people understood that sex, sexuality, and gender identity are more complicated than just male and female. So all of the gold in this gold display was found together, and archaeologists think that most of the items were attached to one garment and then rolled up, and the scepter and the 2 bracelets were placed on top of the bundle when it was buried. No, it's mine. I'm going with you to prom, and she's my partner. In the stillness of the night, they encountered a great black creature never seen before, carrying a man on its back. New routes to power. The world rapidly expanded when the Yamnaya people from the east arrived, riding creatures largely unknown in Europe, horses. Trade networks opened, and with them came wealth from abroad, bronze, amber, carnelian, but also war. By the Bronze Age, 5,000 years ago, this world was at war for the control of trade, land, and people. Warriors were the elite and closest to the gods. So horses opened up a whole new world. And as the world expanded, community leaders and other members of the emerging elite used horses to travel faster and farther than ever before. Crafted cheek pieces like these, number 1, 2, 3. Those crafted cheek pieces were used, reserved for horses of the elite. At the time, control of horses meant control of long-distance trade. This brought wealth and power, and horses changed the world the same way that airplanes have changed our world. They created bronze by mixing metals from afar. So here's the beginning of some early bronze forms and elements that were made back in this time. This is about 1100 to 900 BC. These items would have been made. There's a battlefield. And then the beginning mourning their dead in a ritual of fire. Around 3,000 years ago, cremations became a regular public funerary ritual in Southeast Europe. Whole communities gathered to honor the dead in solemn ceremonies. The deceased were buried on pyres like this, sometimes with their jewelry or offerings of food, and members of the community would collect their remains and afterwards to be buried.
Mírala si va a ser. Está grabando.
Did you get burned? So only the most powerful warrior could wield a sword. And not because it was heavy, but because it was valuable. At the time, bronze was the strongest metal that metalworkers could create. And it gleamed like gold when it was newly formed. This bronze sword is a replica of the one on display here, which was found along with 12 bronze axe heads. This is 1700 to 1600 BC from Hungary. So warriors strong-armed their way to the top. Wielding bronze swords and axes, warriors often fought one another for control of territory, exotic gods, and people. As the most revered, even feared class in the southeastern European societies, they were untouchable. These weapons may have been buried by a group of warriors, perhaps to commemorate a battle or honor a fallen comrade. You have a bronze sword. You have some bronze axe heads. Just amazing. If you could see I think you can probably see the detail on these, especially the sword. So they just intentionally bury their treasures. I don't even know what these are. Lots of precious objects with more intent and purpose, sometimes folding them or breaking them first. For example, these are hair coils, and they were compressed into this ceramic vessel before being buried. Only a person with excessive wealth could afford to destroy their things, a ritual that was really killing and taking them out of circulation for good. People still do this today. Remember when Elon Musk launched a luxury car into space in 2018? So this is the first time this hoard that I'm going to show you has been presented together since it was buried 3,000 years ago. Why? It was discovered, because the world changes. Those who buried hoards intended for them to stay buried, but they could never have predicted how the world would change. Notable hoards across southeastern Europe were accidentally uncovered by farmers plowing their fields, by the weather, or even during war. When archaeologists excavate those sites, they also search for areas for additional finds. So these hoards were found either by farmers, by excavation, by archaeologists, and this is the first time that they're being shown here in the United States. Here at the Field Museum in Chicago, First Kings of Europe exhibition. Cool bracelets. So they flaunted their gold to stand out. It says the elite woman who wore these gold ornaments had so much to show off. By this time, distinct social classes had developed in southeastern Europe. And to stand out, women wore their gold while participating in public ceremonies. Public spaces turned into areas where wealthy people flaunted their adornments. So I don't know if y'all are chatting or not, but I can't see the chat. Oh, wait a minute here. Their best warriors became the elite. Around 3,000 years ago, bronze swords and axes became some of the first weapons for war use. Warrior chiefs wrestled for control of expanding trade networks, and territories were expanded trade networks and territories and formed alliances to obtain resources. These warriors and the wealthy people that could support them formed the beginnings of an elite social class. You got axe heads, you got arm guards, and that bronze sword. So they wielded these weapons not only to fight, but to show off too. This little gold piece that you see in the middle here, number 2, that is called a gold greave or shin armor. So this would have gone around a person's shin to protect it, but also to decorate it. And that's from Hungary, 1250 to 1150 BC. And these are gold daggers from Romania. So this urn that I'm going to show you once held the remains of a woman. Not much is known about her, but many people were buried in the same way in the region where she lived. After she was cremated, her community stored her remains in this urn, then covered the urn with a ceramic bowl, and buried it with a drinking vessel, an arrangement that was typical of this time. So now we're getting into the real kind of king stuff. Their most powerful warriors were adorned with bronze. Because bronze was less common metal, high-ranking warriors were often clad in it from head to toe, unlike the warriors of lower rank, who wore some combination of leather and other metal armor. Although these bronze items belonged to different people, together they created a picture of what an elite warrior would have worn in battle during the Bronze Age. This number 6 thing is interesting to me. It's a metal disc, 850 to 700 BC from Bosnia. So the elite feasted in celebration and ceremony, and these were some of their feasting and eating bowls. Some ceramic, some bronze. Kings and queens flaunted their wealth, revealing the absolute power of the men, and your lot in life was determined before you were even born. This story. See the decorations inside of them? Look at the clasps on the side of this bowl that would have held the handles. Just incredible. These are some of the styles. Probably little models made for what dresses or uniforms or outfits were made to look like. A story about a gold pyre. And again, more jewelry that the elite used to make a spectacle of their wealth. But this is just as much a story about our world today. Early on, farmers traded with their neighbors, and some distinguished themselves by trading farther afield for exotic, more valuable goods. To a woman living in the Great Hungarian Plain almost 7,000 years ago, shells from the Mediterranean were like jewels. These are bronze clothing pins that you see here from the Bronze Age from Croatia. Bracelets. Look at this one. These are all just amazing. They all kind of have a deco, some of them have a deco influence too. So if you guys ever have taken my deco tours or are going to, you know that a lot of these geometric shapes come into play in the deco era too. And a lot of this was about the same time that King Tut's tomb was found, 3,000 years ago. So that's why this influence is heavily regarded in the deco era. More technology, more trade, more rumor. All tools that help the elite forge their power and tighten their control. These are bird-shaped ceramic vessels, a bronze wagon, waterbird heads, a bucket-shaped vessel with bird motifs, and a little bird-shaped bronze lamp. And your lot in life was determined before you were even born. This story chronicles the rise of the kingdoms of the Greek China and of the lonely come to conquer. A world of hierarchy, oppression, and inequity, wonderfully inherited, and it continues. So then they started exchanging ideas with people across the sea. So they had this newfound access to the developed societies around their own worlds. And the Balkan upper class sought to emulate the ways of the elite in distant lands. So these figurines, for example, were adapted from similar marble figurines used in burial ceremonies on the islands in the Aegean Sea to the southwest. The elite in the Balkans created their own versions out of clay and began integrating them into their burials. We got ceramic figurines here, that bronze sword. And then, I think we're almost done, but there's a little video here, so I'll maybe sit here and play this for a while if you want to listen to it.
Fashioned into tools and jewelry that shine like gold. Those with connections and influence to obtain these rare items took the first steps toward power. But then travelers from the east arrived with horses, wagons, and new traditions for honoring their leaders and burying their dead. The world expanded, and what was once far was now close, and what was once unknown was now within reach. With this came riches and conflict. Warriors emerged, and some strong-armed their way to the top, ever closer to the heavens. This changed everything. More technology, more trade, more war. All tools that helped the elite forge their power and tighten their control. They would go on to mass-produce iron weapons and deploy formidable armies to defend and expand their borders. They created a world of royals and subjects where commoners toiled for the benefit of the powerful. Kings and queens flaunted their wealth. The few held absolute power over the many, and your lot in life was determined before you were even born. This story chronicles the rise of the kingdoms that the Greeks wrote of and that the Romans would come to conquer. A world of hierarchy, oppression, and inequity, one that we inherited and that continues to shape our lives.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I'm sorry to bother you. I just bought one of these things.
Uh-huh.
I haven't really used it yet. You like it then?
I do like it. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you can do some hand signals
Oh, yeah,
and that kind
totally.
of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, what's this thing on the front of yours? Right
So this is also by DJI that makes the gimbal stick.
Okay.
So this is a receiver for this microphone, so people can hear me really well. And when I go outside, there's a windsock that you can put on it, so there's no wind noise. And
Where can I find that?
DJI.
DJI.
Oh well, if you bought this gimbal, it's DJI Osmo is their
Yes.
series. Then they have the DJI mic system. So just
Okay.
look for it.
The mic
It's
system.
expensive, but it's got
That's
two.
okay.
It's got two mics in it,
Uh-huh.
and so I could have a mic on you and me, and we can both be out like doing a tour or whatever.
You
and,
could be pretty far
or-
away.
It's not too far, but you could
10
be interviewing someone.
Yeah.
And hear them, so it's really
That's
cool.
what I'm.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much.
You're so
okay?
welcome.
Have a
Yeah,
nice
have a
day.
good one. I guess there's more. These are swords. Wow. This is the breast ornament. 600 to 400 BC from the Iron Age from Croatia. I'm giving you a magnifying glass to see this. Which I think, trying to figure out what that is. Number 6, gold earrings. Wow. Necklaces, garment pins. These are women's accessories. little head ornaments. And pendants. Again, you can see some deco influence right there. Circular. This is a garment pin.
No, wait, give me a second.
Ooh, this is a silver belt I'm going to show you in a second. Bronze pins, tweezers. There's a tweezer. These are, again, shin armor. Garment pins, bronze buckles and beads, a little bronze vessel there, and some iron swords. These are from the Iron Age, which would be about 625 to 575 BC. And this is a silver belt, 500 BC from Serbia. So this belt was buried with a tribal leader among the Tribali or Dardanians ethnic group. Predates the Roman conquest of the Balkan Peninsula. Belts like this, typical in this time and region, were likely custom made in Greek workshops, wow, to be used in funeral rituals by tribal leaders and members of the warrior aristocracy. They feasted in life and they feasted in death. Look at the hieroglyphics on the side of that. They love their wine. Gold cups. A lot of these used for drinking and pouring, that type of thing. This is a gold stag applique from Hungary, 700 to 500 BC. This is a silver goblet from the Iron Age, from Romania. A little ceramic bowl from Greece. And a bronze sigilla, bucket-shaped vessel from the Iron Age, Slovenia. And this bronze hydria, which is this piece right here, the big piece, was used for mixing and serving wine from Sparta. It's from Greece and was done in the Iron Age, 700 to 500 BC, found or from the Hungary National Museum. So a lot of these are ceremonial items that would have been buried with women. Bracelets, beads, wands, belt adornments. And then here we have Helmets, shields, swords. And now we're at about 400 to 500 BC. Some shin shields again. Breastplates and helmets. I love the music they're playing here. It's very peaceful. And wow. Silver gilt sphinx retons. Horse-shaped cups like this, called retons, or rhytons, would have been used for drinking wine during lavish feasts because of their shape. They can't be easily set down when they're full. At the feast celebrating his daughter's wedding, one account says Hordes himself donned an apron, served soup with a gold ladle, and drank a sip of each guest's wine, getting drunk before everybody else did. A lot of deco influence here, as you can see. The bull's head on that one. And these wonderful like women figures on this vessel here. Also a lot of burial items here. Rings, horse trappings, a lot of silver horse trappings. Let's see what number 8 is. It's a silver gilt bull riton or rhyton, horse-shaped cup from the Republic of Bulgaria, 375 to 325 BC, 325 BC, from the National Museum of History in Sofia. These are pans, bronze pans, and a wine jug. See the starburst pattern in these? Very deco. Sunburst pattern, I should have called it. Helmet. This helmet belonged to Thracian Royal. Ancient Balkan rulers are largely known from the archaeological record, but they do not appear in written records until they encountered the Greeks and the Romans. Those historians remember them as formidable, of dubious loyalty, and uncivilized barbarians. They were called barbarians. This was, of course, propaganda created by the Roman Empire, which ultimately conquered, colonized, and transformed the Balkan Peninsula. I don't know if you can see the decoration all around the side of it, but it's a glare here, a little hard to show. This incredible decoration. This is a little easier to see over here, I think. Look at that. Unbelievable. This is a gold wreath and a collar. And it says here that wealth and political power rested in the hands of the few, both then and now. Thank you. That was amazing. So that was my tour of the first kings of Europe at Field Museum. It's a new exhibit, and it's the first time any of those items have been shown together outside of Europe. So in the United States, very first time. And I'm so glad that you guys joined me. I hope that you enjoyed that. It was very peaceful and relaxing for me. Is it Thursday today? I think it is, right? So it's my therapeutic Thursday anyway on my Instagram account. So we just had some therapy. Yeah, you are so welcome. And if you guys feel like tipping, I would love it, and I would so appreciate it. Down in the description, there's my Buy Me a Coffee link. And I also just want to mention that I am going to start soon memberships where you can sign up now for $20 a month. You can support me. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you exclusive tours. I'm going to give you exclusive content from Chicago and other cities and other places around the world. And so an exhibit like this would likely be part of one of those exclusive tours in the future. And so if you feel like signing up for that, I promise you, you won't be disappointed. And then also, if you go down to my website's listed in the description too. I have a brand new website. And if you go to the bottom of the homepage, you can leave a review or write a review and read reviews. This tour is not one of the ones that you could select, but you can select any of the tours there and just write a review about this tour. It doesn't matter. All the reviews go. Just select. I would probably select the Art Deco tour, I guess, for this one because it relates to that, and leave a review. It helps me on TripAdvisor. And again, thanks for joining me. And I'm going to put this to an end and go enjoy the rest of the Field Museum. Oh, I got to show you this first. So this is out in the main lobby of the Field Museum. These are pagoda stands, I would assume. And then also we have our T-Rex, our famous T-Rex. I don't remember her name. I can't. I'll just walk up here if you guys want to stay with me. Prehistoric elephants. And I think it's Susie. I don't know. Sue. Yep. That's right. Thank you. Pretty amazing museum. We've got the most incredible museums in Chicago. And I just love going to them. So the last time I was here was with my grandson Levi, who's turned 14 yesterday, and I'm wearing my Levi's hat in his honor. I have a younger grandson named Oscar too, who you probably hear me talk more about, but only because Levi was placed for adoption, and he was adopted into a family. It's an open adoption, and we know them, and we see Levi all the time, but he doesn't live with my daughter, so it's a bit different. But stick with me here. I'm just going to walk outside and show you where we are in the city too. This is super cool. This museum is just amazing. It's a museum campus with a shed aquarium, field museum. And then you can see in the distance there, the city. You're looking at kind of like the south end of Millennium Park and Grant Park there. Check out these doors. You obviously know I'm a door lover. These are bronze doors. Probably heavy as hell. And the entrance to the Field Museum. All right, everybody, have a great day. Stay in the moment. And remember to be kind and have empathy for people today. And in return, I can guarantee you'll get 10 overflowing amounts back. All right? Talk to you later.